After my Archie was murdered, I had to call up about getting him embalmed. Archie is my only child, and he is my best friend. Even tying the word embalmment to Archie is wrong.
I rang my sister and I said, I've just been told that Godwin has died. The only balance I could have was just the floor, because there was this point that I wasn't able to sit or stand. I just kept repeating, died, 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 died.
I called my auntie to let her know she was very close to him, almost like a mum to him. I remember telling her that Kamari's been stabbed. She just screamed.
They told me Christopher had been murdered, stabbed in the back. The first person we called was Christopher. The phone kept ringing, ringing, ringing. You go, come on, Chris, answer the phone. But you come to the realisation it's not a mistake. It is the real thing.
His chest was open and he was just lying in his blood. I called my mum and I said, Mum, Dwayne's been stabbed. I remember her saying, oh no. She didn't see what I saw. His hand was just hanging so lifeless. When I saw that, I knew he wasn't going to make it. I knew he wasn't going to make it.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night, and good evening, wherever you guys are. And I'm Amoy, and this is Hearts to Hearts. And the way how the video started off, it's a serious thing. And today's topic is knife crime and knife crime awareness. So I'm also joined by the lovely Lucy Harvey. We have the lovely Jessica Plummer, who's been a victim of knife crime where she lost her son. So apologies. And me as a young person, I don't know how to apologize and say sorry enough, because I don't know whether it to be honest, I've had family members who've gone through it as well, and it's not a nice feeling. So my sympathies are with you. And we also have Joe with us today. We have Street Pastor Loy, and we have Hannah Bird. So guys, today it is the knife crime awareness. So Hannah, if you want to start us off, like.
Yeah, thanks, Moy. Thank you for having us again today. As you know, I'm Hannah Bird. I'm an acting police sergeant on the Violence and Gangs Coordination Hub at the Northwest BCU. And this week we are promoting Operation Scepter, which is a knife crime awareness week whereby all police forces across the whole of the country concentrate on knife crime. So whether that be we go out and do weapons sweeps, so we go around estates and we look in sort of every area to find knives and any other weapons, or we do engagement visits where we go to schools and we ask people like Jessica to come in and tell her sad story of what happened to her lovely son. And really it's the prevention. So we're trying to stop violent crime and knife crime as much as we can by doing the OpScepter week. And today one of those things is having this open conversation about knife crime on Hearts of Talent. So I just want to say, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us today. You're one of the bravest women I know to do what you do, and how you help young people and save lives young people is just commendable. So thank you for coming on here and sharing what happened to your son. I'll pass you over to Joe. Do you want to add anything, Joe, to that about OpScepter week?
No, just that we are out there as engagement officers all the time, day in, day out. I mean, Hannah knows I literally come in the office in the morning, have my cup of tea, my breakfast, and I'm out all day. I'm out on the estates, I'm out in the high streets, I'm out in schools, trying to engage with young people. And that's not for my benefit, that's for their benefit, to get them into employment, to get them into positive things outside of school. Because a lot of the kids that go to the Prues, they finish at like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There's then nothing for them to do. So we find stuff for them to do in the afternoon, so they're not going out committing crime. And just trying to get engagement with young people and build that bridge between young people and the police, so that they feel that they can have those people in the police that they can trust to help them, to guide them. And through people like Jessica, who we bring in, she is our guardian angel. She is an angel to so many young people, and she helps them from the heart, and she's always there whenever we need her. And she literally is a beautiful human that we love very much. And they all love her so much, and they're all grateful for her help and guidance, which they don't normally have in their outside lives. So to have somebody like her in young person's life, it really does help them.
That's amazing. And Jessica, I have a question for you, because I've seen that you go into schools and deliver talks. What does your talks like? What do you? I know you base it around knife crime, but how do you engage with the younger youths in their adolescent age, where they're more, they see stuff? So how do you kind of talk to them and get through to them? Because nowadays, I know it's hard to talk to kids. So how do you go about it?
What I do is, when I approach them, I don't approach them as a friend or like a mother. Yes, I know I've lost my son. I talk to them like I am their mom, and I show them the love. And I give them that voice where they can explain to me, and I want them to be able to trust others. So like I say to them, we hear on social media about the police officers, and like me, I never trusted them before because I was seeing the stuff on social media and I used to judge them. But who am I to judge them? And I had to learn. And by me losing my son through knife crime, I change everything, and I see police officers in a different way. Especially, I must say, the police in Harrow, because they paved the way for me. I just love the support and the way they are with the young people. So what I do is I tell them that they have to remember we have good and bad in each and every one of us. And I am not there to judge them. I'm only there to kind of point them in the right direction, and the same like the police together, because like I said to them, I cannot do it on my own. I need others together in order for us to be able to make that change. But they have to remember that if it wasn't a police officer today, I would not have had the justice that I got for my son. And they have to remember they're going into school. If we as parents had the knowledge that the teachers have today, we would not have sent them in a school. We would be the one teaching them. So what I say to them is, remember, they have to listen and they need to respect. If they know they've done wrong, I'm begging them, please, find a way to go to the police or talk to somebody where they can trust and explain to the person as to what problem or what they're facing, whatever they are going through. But what I notice with them, a lot of them, the reason why some of them maybe don't want to approach us or maybe doesn't want to talk to us is because they don't trust us, and they think, because of what's been going on in society and what we're facing now. It's like, yes, they have that barrier, but I'm trying to break it. And like I said to them, we need to learn to trust. And by me losing a son through knife crime, it's one of the most horrible pain ever. And I want to be that person where they can open up, talk to me. And, I just show them love. And the love they give to me, that's what I want to give back to them. And I leave them feeling happy and knowing that I can go back into the school and do my best, because whatever I get from the foundation is just all about them and the community. So it's just the love, because some of them, they don't get that love at home, and it's like they're with the parents and we judge them. We know there's good and bad, but we need to have faith in them, and we just need to be there for them. Not just me going in now and then tomorrow I forget about them. No, it's not like that, because I have a lot of love for these children, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Nobody asked me to do it. I wanted to do it because I've got children too. So I've lost Shaquan, but I've gained 1,000, and I am the happiest woman ever.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Lisa, do you have a question?
No, I just want to say, like, I just think it's amazing what you're doing. Like, to take such a horrible experience. I'm a mum myself, and I'm in an area that, you know, people would say it's not really a particularly rough area, but recently we've experienced, you know, people and gang rivalry, and, you know, knives being machetes, and, you know, guns. And I just think, like, you know, to have someone like yourself going into schools to help these children understand that it's not just about them either. Like, you're a mum that has lost her child, and to think that, you know, some of the things and the actions that some of these young people take, they don't think about their parent or their family, or, you know, what it would do to them. But I'm sure for you to be able to show the love to these young people, and you know, share just that amazing positivity of being able to say, no, this isn't the road for you, because of, look, now I've lost my son, and my son wouldn't want me to feel all of this hurt and heartache. That was never his intention, you know. And it's about this. So we spoke about it on part one, didn't we, Joe and Hannah, saying how, you know, a lot of grooming goes on, and people say to kids when it comes to getting involved in gangs and knife crime and these different roads, to say, like, you know, oh, your mum don't love you, or your dad don't love you, or your parents don't love you, come here and I'll look after you and stuff. And albeit that might not be the case with yourself, it still is very much happening, and it's still a part of their sort of like culture, or like what it is they do. So I just think it's absolutely amazing for you to have been through such a awful experience, and then be able to show so much light for people, like, and give them that guiding light to say, yeah, you know, look at what happens, and look at the pain it causes, and look at what we can do to fix it. Like, they need people like you, Jessica. So hats off.
Thank you.
No, for real. As a young person, and as somebody who has seen things, I think that's so important to have that in schools. Whereas, like, when I was in school, it wasn't really a thing where, you know, you would have, it wasn't a focus. You get what I'm saying? Like, it was, as soon as you do school, that's it. Like, after school, it's nothing. They don't really kind of bother with you. And there was like one or two teachers that kind of made you feel like, you know what, you must do something with your life. But I feel like, because all of this goes on, I think it should be introduced into the curriculum to understand, and it should be a part of the school curriculum for kids to understand. At your age, you're so impressionable. So something that looks golden, you're going to go for it, because it's like, you know, I want it now. And because money is now more of the drive, because they see kids with like shoes and stuff, it's a thing where it gets them, it's intriguing to them. So if someone came up to them and said, look, I can get you like £100 in like an hour, like, it's gonna get to them. And I feel like we need some safeguarding in schools where it kind of protects them and clues them up to say, do you know what, like, you're better than this, don't follow that person, don't do this, like, you're better than this. And it gives them that love, that homely love as well, because some of them don't even have that homely love. Like, they come to school and look for that love, you know what I'm saying? And that for me personally, as a young person and who's gone to school and seen certain things, I personally feel like it should be introduced. But there's a comment here from my lovely mother. She said, Jessica, apart from going into schools, how are you getting on after your son's death? Which is a good question.
To be quite honest, I cannot really say, because I live in fear every day for my two other children, which is Chantel is 27, Andre is 22. And sometimes if I know they're indoors, I feel happy. But when they're outside, I'm not sleeping. It's like my eyes always open. I'm always wait. If the phone ring, I'm always thinking of the worst. And maybe something happened to her, because Chantel just passed her driving, and Chantel drives a car. And I'm forever thinking, Lord God, what happened to Chantel? I haven't heard from Chantel. Worse if I call her phone and maybe she don't answer. And I'm thinking, oh my God, did somebody harm Chantel? Did something happen to Chantel? And it's like, you don't really get a proper sleep, because since it's going to be 7 years in January, and to be quite honest, for the 7 years, I've only had one day where I had a proper sleep, and I've not been able to sleep. I have to live on sleeping tablets every single day. Because what I'm saying, I'm saying to myself, Shaquan wasn't a bad person. He wasn't in a gang. Shaquan was working 2 jobs and doing his A-level other times. And I don't know why somebody had to do it to me. And why have I got to go through all this amount of stress? I'm living on a bag of medication just for me to be able to survive. And I don't know. To be quite honest, I don't know how I'm doing it. But the love and the support I get, not only from the children, but the police officer, I am very, very grateful. And the people that pay more attention to me is, like I said, the police in Harrow always have my back, always ringing. I think Claire Ginger is one of them. She will ring to find out if I'm okay. I had one breakdown and she stayed in the hospital with me for the whole day. Then she came back and dropped me all the way by my door. She kept on ringing to see if I was okay. She asked if the children need anything. Do we need any help? Do we need support? I recently had to start back counseling, which I don't like doing. I'd rather go into the schools and do the talk, because to me, it's way better for me. But I don't know. I'm just leaving because I have God with me, and I just pray to him and I say to him, just point me in the right direction. Because like I say to them, I came from St. Lucia, and my upbringing is different from that of the English upbringing is totally different. And I raise my kids the same way, because I have to understand that I was raising them not for myself only, but I'm raising them for the whole world. But today I'm still suffering, apart from what I did, because I think I did my best for my children, but I still end up in the same knife crime thing which I was running away from. But I'm still giving thanks to God that I've still got 2 children, and I'm praying that one day he will heal me. I cannot forgive yet, but God is with me, and my son is looking up. He's up in heaven and he's looking down at me, and he's helping me and trying to make me do what is right by other children. I don't know. I don't know. It's difficult, but God is good.
I love that. And now we're speaking of God, Pastor Lloyd, like you wanna put in your 1s and 2s. We also we've got comments as well, which I'm gonna bring them up, but I would like to hear from Street Pastor as well.
Wow. Hi everyone. Hi, Jessica. My God, a mother to a mother.
Thank you.
To a mother. Wow. I just can't even know your pain. I don't know all your pain, but just hearing you speak as a mother and how you put your case across about your son. No mother should have to bury their child.
True.
But the power, you don't even know the strength of even sitting on this platform. You're going to help somebody else, because it's seen the vulnerable that none of us know what today may bring. But I know that just you being here and talking to all of us here is it's so special, because there's so much brokenness in this world, but the way you brought it across is so deep. As a mother, always worrying about their children, want to know where their children are. And, people might think that many of us as a mother don't care about our children. No mother should have to hear a phone call coming in to hear those words, because what I was hearing in the beginning, that it was making my heart really break, because this is real stuff. This is not makeup. And to say how you just put it in such a way, I'm not even taking nothing, I'm leaving it as it is, because we all need to hear the truth. And you're going into school in your time of bereavement, that is a great healing strength. And you still don't even know the answer. None of us do. But everyone sits on this platform has got a job to do. And no matter how much hurt and pain we feel, it's not just for you, Jessica. It's not for all of us. It's for everyone right now. You know, it's so important, even looking at Amoy as a young person. Somebody has to speak up, because we can't be sitting down no more. And hearing it from you, the pain is great. But I just ask that all of us learn something from your presentation of going into school and talking to young people, because they need to hear what a mother feels on the word. We don't know what tomorrow brings, but we don't want to see more death, because young people are beautiful children. They are the future. They need something that will build them, so they don't think on this mindset trap. You know what I mean? As a mother, we're all crying for you right now, because you showing a great strength that some of us can't even get up. And bereavement is not something you will ever get over, but it's something that we have to live daily. You know what I mean? And God is just bringing you on this platform for a reason that will help many of us and many mothers out there. Because we can't say it can't happen to our doorstep. But I just thank you for sharing your testimony. I'm not even touching on it in the way, in a thing, but I just want to bless you. May God strengthen you. May you go from strength to strength. That you touch every child, you walk in every premises. That one difference. When all of us walk together united, it makes strength for all of us, knowing the work is worthwhile. That's all I got to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Talking work then, obviously, Hannah and Joe, you guys are amazing. You guys have joined us obviously before here on Hearts of Talent, and I'd love for you guys to obviously tell us a little bit more about, you know, how that maybe some of the training that you guys go through to obviously, you know, look for signs around knife crime, or like the understandings of different areas where you think, you know, knife crime can be happening, and, you know, what sort of, obviously it may not be necessarily within your job role to educate parents, but, you know, what kind of jurisdiction do you guys have when it comes to talking to parents and people or guardians and schools that are involved in the knife crime?
That's a really good question, Lucy. So that the campaign that was put on at the beginning that opened the show, which was called Hard Lives Save Lives campaign, and they were mothers of victims who sadly lost their children to knife crime, and that campaign is basically to reach out to females, actually, mothers in the communities, to be able to say, look, come forward. If you know that your son, daughter is carrying a knife, come forward and tell us. But the campaign is in cooperation with Crime Stoppers, so we work together. So Crime Stoppers is an anonymous phone number that people can ring and report information. It doesn't come through the police. It's completely separate for the police. For the 30 years that they've been running, not one thing has gone back to who that person reports the crime to. So it's completely anonymous, but it comes through to us and that information is there. So, for example, so-and-so is carrying a knife. We can then act on that intelligence, whether it be, you know, weapon sweeps, whether it be we go into schools and do knife arches, whether we go into schools and do talks, engagement. We bring Jessica in to do talks to really give the, you know, the hard hitting story of how it can impact a family and the ripple effect it has, you know. As police officers, yeah, we work on intelligence when it comes to knife crime in areas where it's, say, for example, if there's been a spate of stabbings, we would go and we would look at going into that area and look at enforcement, try and sort of community reassurance by doing patrols, talking to communities, but we can't do it on our own. We need to be working with everybody. And like this now, this conversation we're having again around the table, young people, you know, police officers, Lucy, yourself from up north, Jessica, street passer, you know, we're all from different avenues, and we're all coming together to try and combat a problem. So it is about working together. Education is key. Communication is key. We have to be talking about it, have to be having the open conversations. Stop and search is a great tool when it's used right for weapons. You know, it's one of the best things we can do to get weapons off the street. So there's lots of things that we use, but for me, it's communication.
And do you think having people like Jessica in schools is something that, you know, we could be doing more of? You know, is there more, obviously your plea to kind of get more women involved, you know, giving those women the support and, you know, maybe the counselling and all the things they need. There could be some women that are like Jessica who want to give back by saying, look, you know, if we could just educate some of these children that are in this class, that could make them go home and think, I'm not going to carry that knife because it's not worth it, which could save a life effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. And we encourage that all the time. I work with Tracy Hanson from the Josh Hanson Trust. She works with around an art project where she goes into schools and she tells her story about what happened to Josh. Lillian, who was on the video, her son passed away, Kamari, outside of school. He got stabbed to death, and it was around social media. And you know, so it's so important that we go into schools and we're talking to the children about the effects of social media. For a start, is unbelievable, and how it can go from somebody beefing somebody, having a go at someone on social media, to them being stabbed, you know, and killed. It's just the extreme. So we have to be having those conversations as well. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question there.
That was absolutely perfect. Joe, do you want to add anything? I know you've had a little bit of trouble there, but you look like you've sorted it out fairly good.
Yeah. Sorry, I missed most of what Hannah said. Sorry, Hannah. My sound went, so I couldn't hear anything, but I'm sure she's covered everything.
Yeah, we were just saying about the importance of what Jessica does, and mums that have been in the same victim or COVID victims of what's happened to their children once they've been stabbed, the importance of them going into schools and talking to young people and the impact it has. So yeah, you work in a lot of proofs with children, and yesterday, what was the reaction from the children that you had when Jessica went in?
Oh, amazing. They welcomed her with open arms. They've never had anything like that in their school before, and they've never felt somebody so genuine wanting to help them. So hats off to Jessica. She did a fantastic job, and we had 4 gang members come forward. They are actively involved in gangs on our borough, and they came forward and said they want help finding work, finding apprenticeships, finding outside of school activities, finding a mentor, etc., and just to have that, and then come forward off their own backs to us for that support on the back of what Jessica's done. But also, when I go out and do engagement visits at home with young people, I think it's so important to form a relationship with their foster carer, their mom, their dad, whoever is important in their lives. So that, you know, if they've got any concerns or worries about that young person, they can raise it with myself. In some situations, I obviously have to put an intel report on about that information, but a lot of the time, I can discuss that with a young person and say, look, your mum hasn't snitched on you. She's concerned about this, this, this. Let's address it before it gets any worse. What's actually going on? And most of the time they will then open up about that information and we can nip it in the bud. But sometimes there is kind of obviously intel and stuff that we have to put on our systems. But I always say to the mum or whoever's given me that information, I will only have to share that if it's an absolute necessity. You know, anything you tell me is in strictest confidence, and I'll deal with it in the best way I can to handle that information.
I think even just what you said though, Jo, like it goes back to part one when we spoke about like the aspirations for young people. I know Street Past the Law, you spoke on it in part one as well. There's nothing for the younger generation anymore.
Yeah.
There's nothing,
Yeah.
you know, for them to do. A lot of areas and a lot of places, they don't have anything for children to aspire. So they think that no one cares, you know. And in the society that we live in, unfortunately, it's not that parents don't care, but they get so busy, wrapped up in the fact that we have bills to pay, we have jobs to do, you know, we spend so much time at jobs, working, you know, working a lot of the time to line somebody else's pocket a lot of the time, which it can be so frustrating. But you're giving all this time up and thinking you're doing the best by your family because you're just trying to keep the roof over the head, you're just trying to keep food in the belly, you're just trying to do something. I even set an example to show them that it's good to work hard and be a good member of your community by doing all of those things and, you know, being a good citizen and all the rest of it. And like Jessica said, you know, you think you're doing all the right things and, you know, bad things still happen, and it's awful to think that this still happens. But what is it that we can do? And we've noticed that obviously with all the cutbacks and things like that we've had over the last few years, youth services and community centres were one of the first things to go. And all we've done is see crime rates just continue to increase and go forward. And, you know, and it's so difficult because how do we show that we can do this again and we can make things better for children? All we've got to do is direct them in the right direction and say, look, you've had people come forward, like you say, Jo, in yesterday's session or today's session, who have said, help me find a job, help me find something that's sustainable, help me do something that I can enjoy doing. And it's just to show me that is better than me having to look over my shoulder and worry about who else I've got to work for in order to earn 50 quid. Yeah, someone might be able to say to you, I can get you 100 quid within 24 hours if you do this for me. But you know what? If you go and do this, I can get you £100,000 a year if you really work hard at it. And you can have that every year. You can afford to buy your own house. It's about showing them a bigger picture.
But I think, again, that's kind of to do with like the school systems and stuff. Like even on holidays, which is I wouldn't say it's the worst time, but it's the time where kids are free. You can do anything that you want. And they have that freedom to go out, to do what they want to do. And there's nothing there to kind of guide them and say, you can actually do this with your life instead of being on the road. And again, it goes back to the fact of community. I believe in because of my mum and my grandmother and all sorts of my family, it was due to them where I had the fear of going outside. To this day, and I'm 20, to this day, I still fear going outside because someone's going to tell my mum where I am. So I have to behave in a certain way, not a certain way. I'll behave the same way how I behave now, but I behave in a way where I'm like, hey, I know somebody's going to tell my mum where I was, so let me act right. But because I don't feel like that same fear is there anymore, where kids don't have that fear, because I see kids that are like younger than me acting a fool, and I'm sitting here like, where's your mum? Like, you don't know someone like me? I can't act like that because I'm scared. I'm scared because I know as soon as I hit that doorstep, someone's already rang my mum to say, Omoy, I saw you doing this. Like, I remember one time I was young and I went somewhere And someone called my mum saying, yeah, Jasmine, you know, I saw one boy right here. I was thinking, what kind of snitch is this? And here's me thinking that I was fine on the road, but because, again, that's not here no more. Kids don't fear nothing. And I can tell you that from me being, I'm still a kid, yeah, but I'm telling you from as a young adult that kids have no fear of nothing nowadays because there is no guidance. There is nothing there to help them and kind of get that, yo, you need to do something with your life. Like, I will talk to kids and tell them, look, why are you doing this for? Like, come on, man, do better. You don't want this for yourself? You don't want to do better for yourself? Some of them say, nah, you know what? It's because I can get this quick money. And what's that going to do with nothing? Because when you get caught, that's it. That's it for you. You're going to prison. And there's only two. And and the reason why I fear this as well is because there's only two roads you can go down. You're either going to end up dead or you're going to end up in prison. And neither of them roads is what your mother wants or anybody else wants for you. So try to do better for yourself in life. And I think that's what needs to be installed in high schools and also primary schools, because it starts in primary schools too. It's just we want to ignore it and say, you know what? Nah, it's because they're little. No, they take in a lot. And I can say I've taken in a lot from primary school to now. I soaked everything in like a sponge. And then from, even when you hear little kids say bad words, you think, how did you hear that? It's because they hear it on the road and they soak it in like a sponge. And that's exactly what we need to do. We need to be there from when they're young right until they're older, so that there's that constant cycle of the help and the need for them to be okay. I feel like I'm going off on one, but yeah.
Can I just say though, Amoy, as well, you know, this can happen to anybody. Knife attacks can happen to anybody. And I think, you know, Jessica's son Shaquan was a prime example. He was a good lad. He had 2 jobs. You know, I don't know if you can share your story, Jessica, or if it would be too much for you, what happened. But I think it would probably help people understand about the gorgeous young man that your son was and how handsome he was, and you know what happened. It would be sort of give everybody a bit of an understanding. You know, he was a normal young lad, and it can happen to anybody. Are you able to do that, Jessica?
I think you're muted.
I would try. What happened was, on that day, let me see if I can remember properly. Shaquan used to attend Christ the King Primary School, and from there he went to the secondary school in Enfield, and then after he did his GCSEs, he went to La Swap to do his A-levels. And doing his A-levels, he used to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. He used to be there for the whole week. But on a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday, and Saturday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday he used to work. So Shaquan was working with Waitrose from Wednesday to Friday, and he used to work in Tottenham Hotspur serving on the Friday. But that day, when I got that knock on the door, this thing is registered, it's just in my head, and it will never ever go. When I got that knock on the door, I wasn't expecting that, because when Shaquan left my house, I remember him going up and down the stairs in the mirror, fixing himself and saying to me, "Mommy, look at your pink son. See how handsome I am," and stuff like that. And he left. When we left, he walked downstairs. I remember him walking through the door, and when he was going, I said, "Noon," because Noon was his nickname. And I said to him, "Noon, remember you representing me. Be a good boy, be a leader, not a follower." He said, "Mommy, I know." Then my neighbor, one of my neighbors living further down, she turned around and she said to me, "Jessica, leave him alone. You know your children are good. Just leave him." And the last I saw of my son was when he left, and he was at the top of the road and he waved goodbye to me. And that's the last time I saw and spoke to my son until that day when I got that knock on the door. and we shouted out to my son, saying to him to use the key and open the door. Went to the front door, I saw that flashing light outside, and I'm saying to myself, I hope Nung wasn't in any trouble. When I walked down the stairs, the person kept on knocking. When I opened the door, it was 2 police officers, a lady and a man. They both asked me if I was Jessica Plummer. I said yes. They said, your son Shaquan was involved in an accident and we need you to come to the hospital with us. I was so, I don't even know how I was feeling that day. I was so scared. I said, Lord God, I hope Nung is okay. I asked them, they said they don't know. I remember walking up the stairs and I fell because I was so weak. The lady helped me up. I walked up the stairs. I went all the way upstairs. When I reached upstairs, I had to change because she asked me if, she asked me to get my bag, some money, and my coat and stuff. So I went upstairs and put on, because I had my night shirt on. I went upstairs. When I reached upstairs, I was trying to put the trousers on. I wept myself. The police officer, she helped me. I got dressed, I walked down the stairs. When we got down to the bottom bit of the stairs, she said to me, who's in the house with me? And I said, my son, Andre. She asked Andre to follow us to the hospital. And I said, Andre said, no, he don't like hospitals. And Andre was standing on the step. I still kept on asking the lady, what happened to my son? She said she don't know. When we were walking out, I said to Andre to call his dad and tell the dad that something happened to Nung and he must meet me at the hospital. The lady, the police officer, turned around and said to Andre, tell your dad it's the London hospital at Whitechapel. Anyway, I left with her in that car with a blue light flashing. It was the longest ride ever. It took forever. When we got to the hospital, I can remember clearly. When we entered on my left hand side, there was the double doors, and it was covered with police officers. I was walking up and down because I cannot sit down. I don't know what happened to my son. I waited and waited and waited, and I think they were waiting for more people to come in. But by then, Shaquan dad came in and he asked me what happened, and I said, I don't know. He said something happened to Nung. He then said to me, if I've seen Nung. I said, no. We waited a good while, then my priest came, friends, family, everybody came in, asking questions, but I didn't have an answer. And I remember when that police, a tall man in an orange suit walked over to me. And that's when he asked me if I wanted the good or the bad news. I didn't know whether to say the good news, but I said I wanted the bad news. And the man kneeled in front of me and he told me, your son was stabbed and he passed. I just couldn't believe it. I told him he was lying. My son wasn't dead. He asked me if I wanted to go see Shaquan, and I said no, because I was scared, and I regret it today because I did not get to touch. I didn't feel my son. All I saw was him behind a screen. And up to now, I've never asked the doctor what the good news was, up to a day like today. And I am just leaving, and I don't even know why I'm leaving sometimes. But I have to remember there are children out there who need me, and my 2 kids need me too, which is Chantel and Andre. But what he said to me was, Shaquan went to a party, which I don't know exactly, because you're hearing all different kind of stories. Shaquan went to a party, and he got stabbed outside of the door, outside the person's front door. But I was told that Shaquan went with 2 friends who said they didn't see him for a long time. And Shaquan went to meet him. They went into McDonald's, they had a meal. They then went to Budgeon's, I think. They bought some drink and some sweets. And the boy, when I think the boy who killed my son, the sister was dating one of Shaquan's friends, and she was having a party for somebody who came out of prison. They were celebrating for the girl. And the boy called Jamal's sister and asked her if it was okay for him to bring two friends. And the girl said, I need to ask my brother first. She said to wait, she will call back. And I think about an hour and half an hour later, they did not hear from the girl. And the boy called the girlfriend. When she called the girlfriend said to them to make their way. When they get to the front door, they will ask the brother. When Shaquan them got to the front door, I think Jamal kept on asking something about a drink, a bag Shaquan had in his right hand. And I think Shaquan most probably said to Jamal that it wasn't any of his business. But Jamal insists on him, Shaquan, giving him the bag, not knowing Jamal had already smoked and he had a few things to drink, which is what he said in court. And after a while, I think they were arguing or whatever. And then in the end, Shaquan turned around and said to the friends, you know what? Forget about it. And he's going to go. By the time Shaquan left the front door and walked away from Jamal's house, Jamal went upstairs, took a knife, followed my son, and then he stabbed him. And he told the two friends, if anything happened to him, it's on the friends, nothing to do with him, and he ran away. So within that time of him, Jamal running away, we waited, I think it was about roughly 10 days before, but that time I had about the September, I had to leave the country to go bury my dad in the States because my dad died of cancer. So when I came back to the country, that's when the police office, the detectives in fact called me and told me that Jamal was charged with Shaquan's murder. A date was set, which was April 11, 2016. And then we went into court and Jamal was found guilty of murder and was sentenced to 24 years, life without parole. But he put in an appeal straight after the sentencing. And I was back into court on the 1st of December, 2016. But within that time, the happiest day was when Chantel graduated from university with honors in science. She studied biochemistry. And that's the only good thing that really came out, considering all her pain. And Chantel was when Shaquan got stabbed, Chantel was in a second year in university. And that's what really happened. And this is what I'm living with. And I think I've got to live with it for the rest of my life because I just don't understand why it had to happen. But like the detective said to me, they think Shaquan spoke to Jamal's girlfriend and Jamal did not like it. And I think most probably he reacted to it. But Jamal's mom she didn't show no kind of remorse in court. And the worst thing was when I went into the Court of Appeal, the way he was laughing on the screen, and the mom never, ever approached and said to me, Jessica, I'm sorry. But she's still going around saying that her son did not kill my son. But she has her son and she can see her son every day. But I have to live with just a graveyard where I go to the cemetery and just visit my son. Only just in the grave, and I cannot see my son until when God is ready for me. But I leave it in the hands of God. He knows best, and He will guide me through. Thank you.
Do you know what? You see me, I tend not to cry and show no emotion on this. When it's something really deep. I've heard way too many stories, but your story has touched me in a way where I don't know how, because just to see the reaction from a mother and just to see how much it affects, and there can be, no matter how many years has gone by, the effects is still so great and it hurts. And the fact that it angers me to know that his mother as well knows what's happened and doesn't show no remorse. I couldn't care if the mother. This is me talking now. This is not Amoy from Hearts of Talent. This is not Amoy. This is Amoy talking. No matter if that's your son or not, you have to show remorse despite the fact that he's done that. Take accountability. That's what it's about. And before I get any more angry than I am, there is questions that people have asked in the comments, and I'm gonna go all the way right up. And Jessica, the amount of love that's been shown in this is amazing. There's people saying they're sorry for your loss, and it's the love that I can see from this alone, and the healing. It's amazing to me, and this is why I like doing this platform, because it's real. It's people's real, genuine reactions. So we had something from Phil earlier on. The youth need to realize that they'll jump up for Black Lives Matter, but if a Black Lives Matter stops stabbing each other, and that's a real thing. That's a real thing. And Rachel had mentioned parents need to be educated and given the tools to spot the signs of the changes in their child, and that's also what's happened here, where it needs to. I think parents need to be educated too, because it's not only a child; it's a parent's education too. But what was you gonna say, Lucy?
Well, obviously, I mean, I'm not for a minute saying like I, beat my children up or anything like that. But when it comes to raising my children, and me being raised, all it ever took was for my mum to give me that look. And I know, obviously, like you agree, Amoy, when you say, your mum knows a load of people, and if you're caught sort of, in the wrong place or too far away from home and someone sees you, it's like, they're straight on the phone to Jasmine, like, I've just seen Amoy here. And, my children, obviously, I've got a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old, and obviously they're not allowed out anywhere, like, as of yet. I mean, Freya might be allowed to walk literally around the corner to the shop, but since we've had so much going on in the area, I don't really let her out of my sight, kind of thing. We've got a massive garden, playing that, and if we walk to the park, we go together. But when it comes to parents, as obviously police officers, I know Joe, Hannah, and Adrian's now joined us, and Angelina's joined us as well, thankfully. What do you guys think? Obviously, there was so many things stripped back where, parents feel like they lost authority of children when, they were told that they can't hit children, they can't do this. And I've heard other parents say, that their children will use it against them and say, oh, you can't hit. Now, it's a case of, the intent to harm in terms of making a mark on a child, like a physical mark, like a bruise or like a handprint or something like that. And, it differentiates when it comes to like colour of skin as well, because there's a lot that's been in the press and in media at the minute that you can't always see a bruise from, abusive relationships on a woman of colour in comparison to, a white woman. So how do you guys think that it stands when, there's not much authority there for parents, or what level of authority do you think parents need to be aware that they have on their children in terms of the power that they have, in saying, whilst you're of a certain age, you will listen to my rules. And if you don't listen to my rules, what advice can you give to a parent? Because I just hear it all the time. Parents will say, oh yeah, but what do I do if I stop them from doing that, then they're just gonna rebel, and they're just not gonna come home, and they're just not gonna do this or that. And I just think, is that really an excuse? Because I know I would have never ever crossed my mum, and I know my children won't ever cross me like that, because of I have their best intention at heart, and I think they know that. Is it just a case of parents aren't Is it a case of these parents that just don't care?
It's that's a hard question for us to answer, really. As you know, I'm a parent myself. I've got a 16-year-old son, and I fear for him going out and walking the streets, or I don't let him do that. But I mean, it's about getting that balance. I'm not for 1 second saying that smacking your child is right, or it's the right thing to do, because I don't think it is. I think communication, education, speaking to your child, you know, having that respect, and being a role model for your child as well. So, you know, a lot of the young people that potentially have been involved in criminality, it could be potentially from adverse childhood experiences. It could have been that their parents were involved in crime. So it's about, for us, when we go out and do our engagement and diversion visits, it's about breaking that cycle. So if their parents are involved in criminality, then we go and we try and educate them the best we can by the Safer Schools officers going into schools and saying what's right and wrong. You know, some of these kids don't know right and wrong because they're not being educated from home. So we do the best we can, you know, and giving them that information in schools. Guys, have you got anything else to add to it?
I do believe that you're not going to get away being as a parent, because I've got older children, so I'm talking from 40 going up to 30. As a mother, I've experienced working with young people, community. You got a role that you got to get them to be mental and understand your job is not over, because you've been given responsibility for young people. And yes, sometimes they're not going to want to hear what you got to say, but you got to be there consistent. You don't need to be violent, because every child has a need. You got to know how to be supporting them. Can we get something in place for them that they want to be interested in, to get them to grow into what is creative around them? Yeah, because, you know, where I was growing up, we had the youth club, we had certain things, we had a community, but it needs everyone to realize that we got to help each other out. We can't just pass the buck on. We can't make excuse for parents, because the responsibility still comes back, because it's not the government job. Organizations are out there. We can find the organization to put something in place for that young person. Until we can do that, we can't get away, because nothing is going to be said. It's a cop out if we just say, oh, this child is a nuisance, they're toxic and that. It doesn't work like that, because they're only children. They don't understand how the big world works. Until we enforce certain things that will make them understand it's okay to feel vulnerable. It's okay that you got this emotion. It's okay you're not happy, because you got to remember, social media is feeding the young generation with the wrong information. Train them, mindset, show them there is a better way. They've got to start believing in themselves. They don't believe in themselves. How we can expect them to believe in us? It starts in many ways. That's why platforms like this is so helpful for young people and parents, because how I was growing up is totally different from my mum. How I grow my children is totally different how I grow them. Now they're having their own children. They're grown in different ways. So in a way, it's the learning to understand. Time is changing. We've got a different set of generation who fearless, do not care, but we've got to put back the care. We've got to put back the trust. It's all about trust. They've got to be able to trust us. If they can't trust us, then there's no hope. But we can't give up, because we have a duty. Because remember, every child is a wealth. It's a beauty. We've been blessed to bring a generation. So we got to be able to nurture them back. We got to help as a team of talent, the police. We can't make an excuse. We got to bring in what we see different. We got to listen to each other, and we got to learn from them as well, because they have got a lot of technology, a lot of information. Some of it is good, but there has to be a meeting point. There has to be a meeting point for young people. That's all I can say.
Nah, that I agree with that 100%. Because Angelina and Adrian, you guys kind of just joined. What do you guys have to say? Which one of you guys want to start first?
I'm happy to go. Sorry for being late, everyone. My sincere apologies. I think it just flashed up on my phone about someone who's just written in about parents needing to parent. I mean, this is not obviously across the board. Really, it's not. But I think parents need to, like, for example, things I turn around to kids when it comes to social media, and I know that's already been brought up, is kind of like, listen, you wouldn't let your kid run around the street shouting, swearing, and threatening people. It's the same with mobile phones. You can't let your kid go on a mobile phone, start running around, shouting and swearing at people. It's kind of the same thing. And I think we've kind of lost a little bit of responsibility, where parents have kind of lost their responsibility powers, or how can I explain? You know, if you're going to bring children into the world, then you've got to remain responsible for that child. You've got to go to their, you've got to show interest in the school. You've got to go to the parents' evening. You've got to supervise that child with what they're doing. Who are they going out to see? What friends are they seeing? Where are you going? What part of London are you going to? What part of a specific borough are you going to? And who are you going with? And if you leave there, where are you going to? I want to know your every step, because realistically, that's what we should be doing with our child. But I think we've kind of lost that a little bit. And that definitely doesn't help us.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing. It's like you see a lot of parents that will go to the prison gates when their child is being released from prison. You know what they're gone in for. It may be a reoffending thing. And why have you not changed that situation? You know what they're doing. Why have you not corrected that? But you're going to celebrate them being released, but to know they're going to do it again. It's kind of, for me, it baffles me, because I see it a lot within old people that I know, or younger people. And myself, I'm a mother to a 3-year-old, and I know I've got a long way till she gets to like a teenager and has all these issues. But you still have to have that responsibility of teaching them everything, right from wrong. And if you know they're doing something like selling drugs or committing abusive things and stuff like that, tell them. I think parents just push it to the side. I mean, I'm just speaking from what I think of, is that I think some parents do push it to the side because they don't want to address it. They don't want to feel ashamed, or they don't seek help. Like, if I have an issue with my child, or I'm concerned about something, I will ask another parent just for advice. Don't feel bad about it. Not everybody needs to know the ins and outs of your business, but still seek help. You just brush it to the side and be like, okay, it will deal with it when it deals with it. And that's not the case, because your child can then go and hurt multiple people, cause hurt to the world and to streets. And even, I know we talk about knife crime a lot, but knife crime is always kind of involved with drugs, and those two things together is what's killing our youths. It's not anything else. It's those two things are just deadly. But why do we parents or us not stop it? You know your child is a drug dealer. How do you address that? They're not expecting you to go and tell the police, but at least try and stop it. You know your child better than anybody else. Nobody can ever tell any parent that they don't know their child, because you do. You birthed that child and you brought them into the world, so you know the ins and outs. You know their abilities. You know their weaknesses. How do you address that? That's what I have to say on that.
You see, me, I get it. I can't talk on a parental part, because I guess most of you guys are here parents. I'm the only one that's not a parent, but I'm an older sibling. So some of these kids have older siblings that are in this life as well, and that sometimes the older sibling kind of glorifies it. For me, I know I look out for my little brother, and my older brother looks out for me. So it's a thing where when you have somebody that's looking out for you, it's all about looking out for you and making you feel comfortable, because that's how I was brought up. And my mum will tell you that. Again, I was brought up because of fear. Like, I feared my mum being told where I was. And if I was doing something bad, I feared that. Even from my grandma too, God rest her soul. That's another person who, she knew me like the back of her hand. She didn't have to, I think that's just what we've lost. It's just some people don't feel like they have authority over children no more because of the way how this new 21st century has been brought up. It's just people feel like you can't talk to a kid a certain way. If I see my auntie on road, I still have to respect her. Sometimes they don't have that no more because they're not brought up like that, because, you know, they let the life get to them. That's what it is. And no one's looking out for them. And I think that's where we lose our way, is when there's nobody looking out for these kids and they get pushed aside and they get drawn into this life, which is the easy life, quote unquote. But I don't believe it's the easy life. Well, yeah, Joe.
Hi, Amoy, thank you. I was just going to add that obviously nowadays we're dealing with so many young people in the care system, and the young kids that are not in the care system don't have as much freedom, so to speak, as the ones that are in the care system. So they're hanging out in school together and they say, oh, I've only got to be back at my curfew 9 p.m. And then there's others who are still living at home with parents, and they're like, well, I've got to be back at 8. And it's like, hang on a minute, some kid in care is allowed up till 9, 10. Why have I got to be home at 8? And it's increasingly difficult then for parents to set boundaries when they've got the peer pressure of other people who still do have some kind of boundaries, because obviously if they don't get home for their curfew, they are then reported missing, etc., and the police are then out looking for them. But I think it's difficult because they compare their life at home. They think, well, actually they've got more freedoms. Why aren't I allowed those freedoms? So it is hard for parents when peer pressure gets to them.
I think that's so common, you know, especially when it comes to, like, obviously, I know my children are a little bit younger and they're not like a part of being on the street and sort of wanting to venture out like to that extent at the minute. But my children are like grade A students, really. Every parent's evening is just impeccable and stuff like that. And I know, obviously, you know, I said before, you know, we don't have to resort to violence with our children, but I do believe that parents shouldn't, like Phil Kay says here, that we're not here to be your friend. And I do want them to fear me to an extent that, like how I feared my mum. I always wanted to make my mum proud, and I feared disappointing her. I didn't fear her as in I was, you know, petrified of my mum or scared of it. And I never want, obviously, my children to be, you know, petrified of me or anything like that. But I want my children to fear the element of disappointing me. You know, I don't want them to ever, you know, think that that could be something that they are capable of doing. Do you know what I mean? And I think they will, even my children now, you know, there's children that are naughty in their class, and they see those children for whatever reason, and however, you know, the educational system thinks is the best way to resolve that. And it's gone on since, obviously, I was even in school. And, you know, I'm sure maybe some of you, when you were in school, when someone was naughty, they got referred to a referral unit. And in that referral unit, they got to do fun stuff. And, you know, it means that those good children then see that, wait a minute, for being naughty, they got to go and do good stuff. So now I'm going to rebel a bit, because if that means that I get more attention, and that means I can do these things because of they're getting rewarded, you know, even to the extent of, I've got a 7-year-old in year 3, and he sees it that a naughty boy in his class who swears, who does naughty things, gets an iPad. And what I know, and he just wants the iPad. He wants to go on the iPad and do the fun of ways of learning. It's the way we're teaching these children that mentality, you know, gets them those sort of good things. I think we need to start rewarding the good children a little bit more and recognizing the good children, so that the children who are naughty can see, oh, well, I'm not getting anywhere by being like this. I want to be more like, you know, being good. And whether there's ways and, you know, methods to doing that, I think we need to explore that more as parents. And, you know, like you say, with police and working with other people and other parents to say, well, what works for you? And not to feel ashamed or judged by being open when you have a naughty child, because of a lot of people that have, you know, naughty children. Like I said, the common thing that I always hear is, oh, well, we've had all of our rights taken away from us, we can't hit them, and if we do, you know, threaten to smack the bum or whatever, you know, they'll say, oh, well, I'll ring social services on you. And it's like, how have we got children using these sort of things against parents? And that's what really baffles me.
Do you know, being a schools officer for the pupil referral unit in Harrow, I get to speak to a lot of the kids, and when we're putting it into sort of like a context of knife crime, I mean, there's loads of reasons why kids will take possession of a knife. But we're looking in the context of sort of like criminality, when we're talking about like linking it in with county lines and what have you. They will carry knives to protect themselves, and when you ask them, like, you know, if you carry a knife, you could get yourself into trouble, and they're like, well, yes, but I don't fear the police. What's the worst that the police could do for me if you find me in possession of a knife? I fear more the gang members and the adults that are forcing me to do it. So they put pressure on them. So therefore, do I feel my parents? What are they going to do to me? They might tell me off. Do I fear the police? No, they might just arrest me. The ones I genuinely do fear are the people that are making me do this now, because of the things I know they will do to me if I report it. So it's all about the pressure and the fear. So looking at it from a child's perspective, I will carry a knife because who do I fear the most? It's not the police, it's not my parents, it's the people that are forcing me to do this. And that's how they kind of hook these people in. And this is one of the main problems we suffer.
That is so true. But guys, we can go on and talk on about this. And I really do enjoy these kind of talks. But from what I've seen on the live stream, we've gone over like 12 minutes. And but it's a serious one. So I didn't mind going over, because I will break the rules. Because I'll break the rules for good, not for bad. But we definitely need a part 3 to this, because there's so much.
Part 3, part 4, part 5. Let's just keep educating on a monthly basis, guys.
We're regulars now. You can't get rid of us. You can't get rid of us.
That's what I'm saying. And I definitely agree this has to be a monthly thing, because it happens every single day. Let's be real. It happens every single day. You hear something new in the news. You're hearing this, you're hearing that. And it's who's there to really shed the light on it, because the news ain't going to do it. Like, your local MP is not going to do it. As much as they want to talk about it, they ain't doing it. So it's down to us to just be like, we're heavy on this. We're talking about it. It's people really do live this life. Like, you need to be educated. But like I said, part 3 has to be done, because
I think, Amoy, just on that, I think the fact that we are being so open about what we're talking about, you know, having these open and honest conversations, and, you know, Jessica today, I can't thank you enough for coming on. And honestly, you know, you probably don't realise how many lives you're probably going to save just by telling us what happened to your son. You know, it's incredible what you've been through, and so thank you for sharing again. But having these honest conversations, getting the police on here with all of you guys, it's the way forward, you know. Social media for the police often blocks out the good parts we do. You always hear the negative stuff we do in the Daily Mail, Sun, all the other newspapers. You know, it's just what bad things police are doing. And we at the minute are having a real tough time with trying to build the trust back up. And I think that's for us as police officers. There's good and bad in everybody, you know. We really, 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 really care about, you know, communities, young people. We don't do this job for the money, because believe you me, it's not good. We do it because we want to do it and we care and we want to help people. And coming onto platforms like this and having that opportunity to show that and try and start, you know, sharing stories of what we're doing and building trust within communities is vital. So again, thank you, Amoy, for having us today. And sorry if I've gone on.
You know what? Can I just add as well before we go? Sorry, guys. I did radio today, and I had a guest on, and we spoke about them being good and bad, and I was corrected, and they said, it's not about good and bad, Lucy. There's happy people and there's sad people. There's hurt people, and hurt people tend to hurt other people. And I think it really stuck with me that, you know, like, people who are sad and, you know, are not, you know, happy or fulfilled. Like we say, we've got children that haven't got any aspirations and stuff. They live quite a down life, you know, and what do they do with that, you know, because they can't see any goodness. And it's about, you know, us showing them that goodness. If we can show that, look, we've got police officers on this you know, live on this platform that are showing us that they're fully capable of doing good things for lots of people who are struggling, and showing people a lot of light, whether it be you're in the dark, you don't have to stay there, you know, you don't have to carry on doing what you're doing. It doesn't feel good for those people, and it doesn't feel good for the people around them, and it only creates hurt and upset. And you know, thank you so much, Jessica, for just obviously sharing your story. And I felt the pain, like, you know, I can't imagine the pain at all. I don't even want to begin to imagine it. But being a mum myself and my children being younger, it's down to people like you who are making that change, so that maybe my children don't have to, you know, experience these kind of things, because we're here trying to make that change. So just forever grateful for the fact that you all take your time out to have these conversations.
Thank you. And you're welcome anytime.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank
you're
you.
Welcome.
But guys, this was Hearts to Hearts today. And we thank every single person that's on this. Like, I think we should do the heart, you know. I want to thank each and every one of you lots for taking the time out of you guys' day to even sit here and talk and have a lengthy talk. And if this is, we're going to make it a monthly thing, not if, we're going to, because that's the way how we create a change. And speaking of change, I think you guys should look for the song "Do It Right" as well. I'm just gonna plug it. I'm just gonna plug it at the same time, because "Do It Right" is a song that is it's for the anti-knife crime. And if you hear the lyrics of the song, if you hear the words and just feel what we are saying in the song, it's more than a song. I'm not gonna lie to you. And I'm not saying this because like I'm on the song. I'm saying this because when I wrote this, it was coming from a place of, I'm being true, man. Like, I'm being true, and I want it to be done right. And I just want change for everyone, and I want life to be better. So make sure you guys get it on Spotify and everything, and catch us next week. Hopefully I'm not sick next week, because it's just been terrible. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. So I'm going to sign out. I've been Amoy. We have Angelina, we have Lucy, we have Adrian, we have Joe, we have Jessica, we have Hannah, we have Pastor Lloyd, and we are going to sign out, guys. So thank you for joining today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Thank you.